Okay, we're live on the air. Hi, everybody. This is Whitney Kilgore, and I'm so excited to have Aras with me today. He is helping me better understand social network analysis using NodeXL, and he and I have been chatting for a little while online already, and getting to know each other a little bit further. We connected in RISO 15, yeah. And so I've been following his analysis of those networks, and I should say the network, and then all the ones that invaded or cross-pollinated or whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to turn it over to you, Aras, to just kind of teach me all that you know about social network analysis. And I know you can't do that in 30 minutes or an hour, but at least some foundations, some basics to help other people maybe too who might be curious about the same topic.
Yes, maybe I will inspire some people.
I hope so. I bet you do. But yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to do this for me. I told Aras earlier, I was joking around with someone the other day and said, before I start this dissertation, I need to crowdsource my understanding of just a few little things. And so I appreciate you agreeing to do this for me. I'm in Texas and Aras is in Turkey. So it's 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning here and 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yes.
in Turkey. So thanks for carving out the time. I appreciate it.
Okay. Let me introduce myself, maybe for those who watch online or maybe the recorded one. I am Aras Bozkurt from Turkey. I am here in Eskişehir. It is somewhere between capital Ankara and Istanbul. Probably everybody knows Istanbul. I'm a PhD candidate at Anadolu University. I'm studying about teacher and learner roles in massive open online courses and interaction patterns. And today we are here. Okay, will we wait autumn or should I start my presentation?
I think you can start anytime. I'll go ahead and invite Autumn to the inside of the Hangout because I know she wanted to join. And then if she's able to pop in, great. But she did send me a little note and say she was running behind.
Okay.
So while Aras is pulling up his screen, I should probably introduce myself. So I'm Whitney Kilgore, and I'm also a PhD student / candidate. I'm not exactly sure when that's official, at the University of North Texas studying learning technologies. And so I see the screen is up, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. Before I will go further, I need to explain some basic terms. So I will start with them. First of all, what is social network analysis? It is a field that explores the interactions between elements. These elements can be everything: individuals, organizations, institutions. We, in general, call them as nodes in a graph. Social network analysis provides both a visual and mathematical analysis. Actually, each time we see cool visuals, but actually there are a lot of numbers which shape these visuals. So if you want to go further with social network analysis, we must ready to study with the numbers as well. And why do we need social network analysis? Especially I use social network analysis for to analyze Twitter conversations. Just imagine a Twitter screen. There is a flow going down. Everybody is writing something, retweets, favorites, blah blah. There is something, but you cannot see the big picture, whole interaction. At this point, social network analysis is very helpful. Through social network analysis, the invisible ties that link each of us to others have become more visible. It's very cool. There is something invisible and it can be visible and machine readable. and you can map all the community, all the conversation with a tool. It is also helpful to understand and interpret unknown, and I like this term, true social network analysis. It's like being a doctor, you know. You can X-ray or MR your patients, and you can see more than you can see. Social network analysis is a kind of X-raying or MRing tool. You can see the whole structure of your community. There is a problem with social network analysis if you are a newbie or if you are just starting. This is actually something I experienced. There are lots of terms. There isn't a unified term in social network analysis. That's because of probably it's an interdisciplinary area, and each discipline use their own term. But through my presentation, I tried to gather them all. Now I go on with basics. The first and important one is vertices. We can use nodes, agents, entities, actors, or items to refer the same thing. And they represent people or social structures. Actually, in a graph, the small circles are vertices. And the other one is edges. There are different terms like links, ties, connections, arcs, or relationships, and they represent many different types of relationships. It is up to you. You can look at the friendship, kinship, trade partnership, citations, collaborations. What they refer may change regarding your focus. Edges are actually important in terms of learning environments. They are connections and relations, and for social learning, these interaction types are very important. But there are some points we should pay attention. These edges can be undirected or directed edges. Undirected edges, you know, you call them just there is a line. If there is a directed edge, there is a direction. It's actually a different term. And these edges can be unweighted or weight edges according to the number of in degree or out degree. Here you can see some examples. In degree means, you know, the edges you take in. Out degree is the edges originate at a node, and degree is a total of the in and outs. These were the basic terms, and there are some metrics. If you want to analyze a network, we should at least know what these metrics mean. First one is degree centrality. It is basically count of total number of connections of a node. The other one is between the centrality. It is simply bridge scores. In my visuals, I usually rank nodes using between the centrality because they are standing at the key points, and they are increasing or decreasing in a way the interaction in a learning community. That's why I think it's an important metric. The other one is closeness centrality. It is simply distance scores of the nodes. This is something interesting, eigenvector centrality. It is influence scores of the influence scores for strategically connected people. There is a similar algorithm that is used by Google. It is called as PageRank. When you Google something, there are a list of pages, and these pages are ranked according to their PageRank. If we sum up these measures, degree is about how many people can this person reach directly. Between is about how likely is this person to be the most direct road between two people in the network. Closeness is how fast can this person reach everyone in the network. Eigenvector is how well is this person connected to other well-connected people. If I give different examples for degree measures, in network of music collaborations, how many people has this person collaborated with? We can explore this through degree metrics. In a network or spice, who is the spy though, who most of the confidential information is likely to flow? This data can be provided us through betweenness centrality. For when it comes to closeness centrality, in network of sexual relations, how fast will an STD spread from this person to the rest of the network? And for eigenvector centrality, in network of paper citations, who is the author that is most cited by other well-cited authors? There is another different terms we should know. One is reciprocity. It is the ratio number of relations, and density is the ratio of the number of edges in the network over the total number of possible edges between all pairs of nodes. Density is strongly related with the interaction. The more interaction, the more density measures will be. Clustering is very important, I mean, in terms of learning, because when you cluster networks, you also measure isolation of the groups. I mean, there is one general network, but there are some networks in it. Through clustering, you can see these sub-networks, and it is really helpful to understand opinion dynamics and discover community practices in these networks. When you get a visual, you see so many edges and nodes. Sometimes, they are really unmeaningful if you are not engaged with social network analysis before. But there are some predefined network patterns. And if you are a newbie, they are really helpful. For example, this is a polarized network type, and usually in US, I think there are two wings. And if you analyze a political conversation, what will you get is something like that. In RISO 15, I usually observed in-group networks because there were there were a group of people who knows each other, and the level of the interaction was very high. The other one is brand public topic, or bazaar kind. This is broadcast type of network. At the beginning of the RISO 15, what I was observed was broadcast type of network, because it hadn't started, and people tried to spread the word. That's why when I analyzed pre-week network, network, what I observed was something like that. And the other one is support network. Yes. Okay, social network analysis is cool. it has a great potential if you are studying networks, online networks especially. But what can we use? This is my personal idea, but I am sure it would be very helpful if you want to decide upon research design. I offer mixed research design because even though social network analysis provides us so many data, at some points that may not be sufficient enough to understand the research question. As a quantitative part, we can use social network analysis, and it will provide us graphs and measures. And we can go further. For a qualitative part, we can use content or discourse analysis because, for example, when you use NodeXL, you will get visuals, graphs, and numbers, and also you will get all the conversations in the network. And at this point, content analysis will be very helpful. In terms of distance education, open and distance learning, online learning, or e-learning, how can we use social network analysis? With the rise of the web, we use online networks as learning environment. And as McLuhan told us, networks are extension of reality in virtuality, or extension of human neural system. It's a place, it's a space where social learning can happen. At this point, I see that social network analysis perfectly fits for this kind of research. In a learning community, we can look at the interaction types. In general, at basic, there are 3 types of interaction types: learner-learner, learner-teacher, and learner-content interaction. Some of the measures like closeness, betweenness, and eigenvector, these values can provide us a lot of data and a lot of insight to examine learner-learner and learner-teacher interaction. Even though this type of interactions are separated in 90s or at the beginning of 2000, new millennium, today we also observe that learner and teacher roles are really blurred. I mean, you could not separate them distinctly. The other one is, and also one of the most important parts, is learner content interaction. Density measures will be very helpful to investigate learner content interaction, but I feel at this point we need further analysis. This is something like I explained before. Maybe content or discourse analysis will be the completing these analyses. And in distance education, cognitive inquiry is a dominant theory. Many of us usually cite or refer, this term. As I told you, social network analysis is X-raying learning community. I mean, when you conduct a social network analysis, you will have everything regarding your learning community, and you can go further to explore type of presences. In cognitive inquiry, there is 3 types of presence: teaching presence, cognitive presence, and social presence. And by applying a mixed research design, rather than using scales or questionnaires, we can get a rich data and different results if we explore cognitive inquiry and cognitive practices in learning environments. This is something different. The examples I I saw usually focus on the one learning community. In Rise of 15, I did something different. I did many of the parts manually, but probably Mark Smith will update this kind of features in coming versions of the NodeXL. I call this as meta perspective. Rather than detecting relations among actors, I I look at the hashtags. You know, each hashtag actually referring a different another community. And during the 6 weeks, I collected all the hashtags, and I saw that Rise of 15 was it's like a solar system from ecosystem perspective and from a broader view. This is a solar system, and there are different systems around it, and they are connected to each other. What I mean, in an online learning environment, especially if you are using Twitter, sometimes you feel in a limited learning environment, but actually, people referring to other learning environments. It's really interesting, and it's worth investigating in future. And if you are starting social network analysis, probably this should be one of the first book you must start with. It is like Holy Bible for social network analysis. And this is the part, this is the last part of my presentation. Now I will go further with some practical implications. Hello, yes, we became 3.
Hi.
Yeah, we've got Autumn on the line. Hi, Autumn.
Hey guys, I'm kind of in the middle of something else, so I'm kind of jumping in and jumping out. I hope that's okay. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
I was so excited to see that you were doing this again. This is actually the second time that I've seen Aras present on social network analysis, and I just feel like every time I get to hear him speak, I just learn a little bit more. My journey continues, and I understand those graphs a little bit more every single time. So.
This time, I tried to prepare a more detailed and more insightful presentation. I hope it would be helpful for you all.
Yeah, absolutely. I could tell that it was a little bit more detailed, even though I was jumping in and jumping out. I was like, oh, that's different. He didn't do that last time. I had a quick question. I don't know if maybe I missed it. So if it's something that you already covered, I apologize. So I remember when we were in Rise of 15, when Rise of 15 was, going strong. Not that it's not going strong now, but you did an SNA on Facebook that looked like a pair of eyes. It was a little bit different, and so I'm curious. You remember? So I'm curious, how much does the tool shape the interaction and then the graph? Obviously, the graph is going to kind of map upon the interactions themselves, and I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that. How much does the tool relate to what's going on?
Actually, when I analyzed Facebook data, it wasn't exactly snake eye, but to make it more attractive, I regraphed a few times. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when it was a shape like I wanted, I stopped it. But already there were 3 basic subnetworks in that graph. I mean, whatever I do, it would be something like I, but I just wanted to be more, proportional.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, do you understand what I mean?
Proportional.
Yeah, proportional.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. So you continue to cycle it in NodeXL in order to get the shape you
Okay.
wanted.
Before I go further with NodeXL, what do you think about comment of inquiry? Because I think you already studied. Do you have any idea, or?
Ask your question again, because I want to make sure I get it.
In general, in academic articles, when we read anything about community of inquiry or interaction types in, questionnaires, scales, and we try to understand through reports of the people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think through using social network analysis, rather than taking a picture after the event, already it's like a documentary. We film everything throughout the process. We can have more insights about these terms, these research areas.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. So I wish that I had thought about the way you did the social network analysis during RISO when we were running the human MOOC, because I would have loved to have been able to show those snapshots through the course instead of waiting to collect data at the end. And I think reflecting back, that's what I'll do differently when we run that course again, because it would be really interesting to take a look at the evolution of the communications that were both out on the web or inside the course, because I think you can use NodeXL on the discussions as well and kind of follow that pattern, kind of like you did with Facebook.
Yeah.
And then be able to show that evolution in addition to kind of the qualitative part, which we had a survey on the community of inquiry, but I agree with you, we could go deeper and do some interviews and possibly some computer mediated discourse analysis and just talk to those people, get a better sense of was community actually established and built, or were we really just more focused on the social presence aspect? Did you feel like you really went deeper? And did you get that cognitive piece? So, yeah, I think it makes good sense to use SNA to really kind of take a look at the community of inquiry model.
Is there any question, or I will go on with NodeXL?
I'd love to go back to one of your slides if you don't mind. You talked about eigenvector.
Yes.
And
1 second.
Yeah, if you don't mind going back to that, I just kind of wanted to get a sense of the difference between that eigenvector and then the centrality, the betweenness, and the closeness one more time.
Yes. Can I take your question again?
Yeah, so you went from, and I jotted a couple of notes, you went from degree centrality?
Yes.
Is that right? Maybe a couple slides. There it is. And so that's just the total number of connections, right?
Yes, a kind of descriptive centrality measure, metric.
And then the betweenness.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and that was the shortest path between two people, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and then closeness.
Yep.
And that's the average distance, let's see.
And eigenvector, the final one.
Yeah. Yeah, and that one's really interesting because that's the one that's more like Google's PageRank.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that has more to do with the number of connections and how strong those individual connections are. So maybe back to those individual connections, centrality, betweenness, closeness with their connections. Is that right?
Yes. It's like, I can give an example like that. I'm not sure if it would be a proper one. Yeah. Do we need the slides, or I will turn it off?
Oh no, go ahead. I think you wanted to get into NodeXL eventually, so I'll stop asking questions on that. I just want to make sure I understood it before you go in.
Yes. Eigenvector is like, there are 3 people in a learning community, but it is not there is not a direct relationship in my example, but all these three people don't have the same money in their pocket. Eigenvector centrality is something like that. You are there, you have equal chances, but your influence is different. For example, maybe you remember the social experiment I did. I wanted to see how fast a tweet would spread if I just single tweet. I realized that around 50 people retweeted and another 50 retweeted their retweet. If Dave Cormier retweeted it once or twice, probably the results would be different, because his influence is probably much bigger than mine or someone else's. Do you understand what I mean? Eigenvector centrality detects this kind of people in a learning community.
So I've always wondered about that. Yeah, that always, when I actually sat down and I started, I'm very new to all of this, you guys. I have not read any of those books that you put up there. I've really just kind of seen Aras's graphs and other people that are doing similar graphs, and went, whoa, what's going on with that? And asked some people some questions. So I'm very, very new to this. So yeah, I was thinking that, each person has to have some kind of score, if you will, some kind of influence weight that's given to them. And so I'm curious, it seems to me like number of followers would be something that might be in there.
I think yes.
But also the weight that those followers have is probably something that's important as well.
Probably, it is not only variable that affects this kind of metrics, but for example, I may have 20 followers, but each these 20 followers may have 20,000 followers. You may have 1,000 followers, but the number of their followers may be less than my 20. Do you understand what I mean? It's interesting, but it's completely about your influence on your network. Okay.
Yeah, I think I just paused for a little processing. I was like, So no wonder all those people want to do marketing on Twitter. It might be more powerful than a Super Bowl commercial at this point if you've got the right people retweeting you, right?
Right.
Exactly. It is like, think about that. While you are doing your research, you found something unique. Maybe it is an innovation, it's a revelation in distance education. You tweet it. Or maybe I tweet it and nobody cares. Do you understand what I mean? It's about influence. But, one of the guys who is already known in the field, if he or she tweets, people say, wow, that's interesting. It's all about their eigenvector scores.
And it seems like if one of those people with more influence starts following you, that makes your account raise a little bit as well. And the more people with more influence that you have following you, the more your own influence score, for lack of a better word, is going to be enhanced.
Actually, while we are discussing learning and this kind of stuff, we always dream an ideal world, and we think everything would be great if the idea is original. But actually, the world is very competitive. There is a global economy, knowledge economy, and just like real economies, there are some gatekeepers who shape and lead people. And I think eigenvector centrality is all about this. Key people at the key places.
Well, and if I could just kind of, I don't know, think out loud. Is it okay for me to do that here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Okay. What I find really interesting of that is that when I think about the people that influence me, right? The people that I follow, it's something very human about that, something very personality oriented. There's something very artistic about that. And in a world where everything seems to be quantified, right, and where everything is kind of becoming numbers and graphs and that kind of stuff, this is so cool because here we have a system where we can kind of measure what's going on in those human interactions, right? and I think it's really interesting. It gets a little weird when we start talking about monetizing it or putting the value on it. That's where it's kind of like, whoa, but it just seems so interesting to me that we're able to kind of, from a 30,000-foot view, kind of look down on people who are interacting around an idea and be able to map that out.
As you told, when we talk about numbers and ranking people, it doesn't sound good, to rank people. But I always say truth hurts. This is the real world.
Yeah, and it's funny because Autumn, as you're saying that, I think there's all this information coming out now about the quantified self, because of the Apple Watch, and now we've got all these tools that are measuring different parts of our life. And I don't think I'd ever really taken the time to reflect on the fact that everything that we do on a social network is really a part of our quantified self in some way.
Yeah.
With quantified self, I think these firms, commercial firms, are already collecting data, and they shape their products according to their data.
Right.
Yeah. And we're at a really interesting point, I think, in time right now in history, because I'm not sure how many people out there, because there's that thing with research, right? As soon as you look at the thing, as soon as you're able to measure it, as soon as it changes, right? So as soon as I'm aware of the fact that I have a score that's floating around out there, and that, if I do certain things, it's going to affect my score, then I start behaving in a different way. But I think we're in an interesting place right now where there's a lot of people who are behaving without realizing that, so we're able to really look at this in a very organic kind of way. I think that's going to change as we start realizing this research more, as we start realizing what these things really mean. I think if people start realizing, and hopefully it'll be for the good, right? When people start realizing the way that they interact will impact certain measures, I think that could change their behavior. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, I think you're right.
There are ethical implications in everything that we do, Autumn. I think that you bring up a really good point. I saw Sean Bain's keynote out at the European MOOC Stakeholders Conference, and she was talking about the teacher bot or the Twitter bot that they used in EDC MOOC, and the way it was presented was very polished, and it was the right way to do it, and it has potential to be something very, very compelling. But it could also go the other way. People could use these things for bad, and I think there's actually probably already Twitter bots out there that are doing, terrible things. But to think through the implications on both sides is really kind of our commitment to research. Make sure that we're doing things the right way, ethically.
Before I show something in NodeXL, I want to add that if I look at some popular terms, I usually realize that the commercial firms or other fields first use them to get more profit, and later in education field we adopt this kind of terms like gamification, maybe a social network analysis, or so I think in their origin there is an idea, there is a sense of ranking, measuring, and even though we adopt these ideas into learning environment, we cannot get rid of the original ideas. Whatever we do, we will face measuring and ranking facts.
It does seem like we're never going to escape that, doesn't it?
I need the okay, I need a second.
You're going to share your desktop?
Yes.
Okay, I'll hold up the book again because I don't think it showed up when I did it before because I was clicked on Aras. So I think Mark Smith is probably watching, or at least he said he was going to, so I want to make sure I held the book up again. How's that? He's fantastic, by the way. I've had a chance to talk to him a couple times, and he's been so helpful at pulling graphs on the fly for different conferences or helping even with the eMOOCs when I accidentally tweeted the wrong hashtag. He was able to find all the missing tweets that got lost and put them together. He's very, very talented.
By the way, if Mark is watching this now, I feel like, it's like singing in front of the Rihanna. Do you understand?
That's great. Sounds like something my 15-year-old would say.
I'm just an amateur singer, not a professional one like Mark Smith. Anyway, I think I can share. I can't share my screen. I have to try once again. I don't know why.
There it is.
Yes, you see it now. Okay. Okay, I will start with a simple example. This is an actually Excel page. NodeXL is a good software, but it is not like SPSS or other separate softwares. It is integrated into Excel page. We need to import some data from our networks. You can use previous data if you have, or you can just get from Facebook, Flickr, or Twitter, or YouTube. I will use Twitter now, and I will use RISO15 hashtag. Probably it's not as crowded as previous weeks, but it will provide some data. Maybe we may wait for a few minutes so you can speak. You don't need to wait for that.
Oh, are you running it already? You put in the RISO hashtag?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it's running behind the scenes. Is that why your icon is all swirly?
Probably no. There was another screen, but it is just displaying Excel screen, so you didn't see it. But there is a part, I just wrote RISO15 hashtag and okay.
Yeah,
so
it's
even though we have
to run because there's so many tweets out there, you think?
Yeah, even though it's not as busy as it was, it's still pretty busy.
We may wait a few minutes, so you don't need to be quiet.
This is the best part, Aras. This is like watching paint dry, isn't it?
What?
This is like watching paint dry.
Yes, yes.
What is the I'm curious, Aras, what are you running? So you're running on RISO 15, like all of RISO 15 right now, or are you picking out a time range here? Did you say like just within the last week?
I take the data for each week. There are some limits if you are collecting data. There are some limits in Twitter. You can get up to 18,000 tweets, or 1 or 9 days back.
And where did you indicate that in NodeXL? Like, where did you tell it? Like, you put in RISO 15. I think I saw you do that. But where did you tell it, like, only look at RISO 15 between these dates?
I will show in the NodeXL. You mean the exact dates?
You have to wait until after it's done before you can show me that? Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's some limitations on Twitter's API, though. Is that right, Aras, where you can only go back a certain number of days anyway?
As I told you, if this is my personal observation. If there are so many tweets, it's about 1 week, 7 days back. But if there are less tweets, sometimes it goes back 8 or 9 days. It's interesting.
So then, Aras, when you're trying to follow Rhizo and you get to week 2, how do you go all the way back to the beginning to make sure that what you're capturing at that point is everything from the beginning?
What I did was, pulling data every Tuesday night, but in some of the graphs, it was not exactly 1 week. Some of them was 8 days or something like that. But actually, I didn't make fine tuning for these graphs because it takes some time to organize them, to think about them. I just put them, but there is a part, how do we call it? 1 second, I will tell you. There is a part, I couldn't find it now, but you can set the exact limits.
So you can give it specific dates. You can say, I want to look at Rhizo 15 from today to 7 days ago. I want to cut it off.
After you getting data, you can set these limits on NodeXL, not while you are taking it.
After you get the data. Right. I see what you're saying. So you pull everything in, and then you start your filtering.
Yes.
Okay.
But for Facebook, it's different. When I get that, snake eye view, it took nearly 2 or 3 hours, because there were a lot of posts, likes, comments, likes in the comments, blah blah. It took everything, and it took a while. Even when I tried to regraph, sometimes my computer crashed.
Oh. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean, Facebook allows you to get that extra level, right? Because you post and then you can reply, and then, well, actually, I think on the Rhizo group, I don't know if we could reply to replies.
For Facebook, even you can set the time. This was your question. In Twitter, you cannot do that, but with the Facebook, you can set the time.
So in Facebook, you could go back the full 6 weeks.
Yes, already my data was representing the all 6 weeks, but for Twitter, it was roughly, week by week.
So then, for the Twitter data, once you have the weekly graph and the weekly data, can you then assemble all those data sets into one so you can get the bigger picture?
I think I can, but I didn't try it yet.
Okay.
But it is, possible. And I get the data now. It is counting. You can't see, but
yeah, I don't think we've seen that yet. I don't think we've seen the Twitter Rhizo graphs, and we've seen one Facebook Rhizo graph, but we haven't seen the Rhizo 15 as and we've never done anything with Google+. I don't know if we can.
By the way, I get the data, but on the screen I can't see it. But when I look separately, so okay, I will save it and I will retry it. Okay.
Yeah, it started to pop up before your screen switched back to you.
There is a problem. I think it's because of the Excel file. When there is much data, sometimes I can experience this kind of problems.
Now we're seeing firsthand what Aras has to go through to get us these data.
I am really curious about, Mark. Sometimes they analyze large sets of data, and I am not sure how do they do that. I think now you see it, yeah?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, we see your picture now. There it is.
For example, this is the first page, aids, ties, relationships. Vertex means people. Let's check which kind of data we have. We have type of the relationship. For example, mentions, tweet, time of the relationship date or tweet date. Yes. And this is something I talk about. For example, this is a retweet. You can see all the conversation in a way. I think in this part, qualitative research methods will be more helpful to understand the interaction patterns. And these are our vertices, I mean the people. You see, this is the final tweet, yours.
Just a minute ago, yeah.
And the rest, now, as you see, these parts are empty. We need to analyze that. For that, we should go to graph metrics. I will not do that because it takes time. But according to your research needs or according to, what you want to see, you can click these parts. For example, top items. This is how I track the hashtags. After I click that, I got all the top items in each week, and later manually I calculated them. And
so, Aras, I don't think we're seeing the pop-up menu. So so it's okay.
I think it is because of the Google Hangout. It is just showing us one screen. So maybe in coming weeks I can record my screen and I can share it offline. I think it would be better.
That would be great.
Okay, then already you can see, so I will just make some analysis. Okay, for example, this is a raw data. Even if you first install the NodeXL into your computer, there is something more primitive. I mean, just straight lines and nodes. But I think it's my because of my settings, there is something like that. Now there are some pop-up menus, but you can see. Now I run all the metrics, graph metrics. And it will take a while again, but it's working now. It will take probably a few minutes, so you can talk about something else while you are waiting.
Thank you for letting us know. We're sitting here like this.
Yeah, and
What's it gonna do?
I was on mute because my 15-year-old is singing at the high school graduation, and so she's running around and asking questions. So, yeah, I think this is fascinating how this shows all the interaction back and forth and following the graphs each week. It was always interesting to see how people had moved around and how the communication had shifted. And Aras, and I don't know if this is a function of NodeXL or if you like manually went back and drew some of these lines, but occasionally I would see where you had like a dotted red line toward someone, or a solid red or green line towards someone while we're waiting for this. Can you explain why or how? Oh, here it is.
Yes. As I told you, there are so many tweaks, but because of you can't see the pop-up menu, so I can't show you. But after your your tweaks, you get something like that. Now you see it in full screen, am I right? As you remember, these parts were empty before I calculated these measures. Now, this is also a new data set for me, so I don't know what is what, but now I am looking for the between the centrality. Yes. Is it changed in your screen? Can you follow it?
We see Maha on top.
Yeah. According to the between the centrality, Maha was the top in our network, and you can easily realize that the interaction is less than naturally less than previous weeks. And when I click on the Baha's name, can you see it turns her relationships turns to red.
Mm-hmm.
Dog trucks, sensor 63, Jeffrey. For example, Nomad War Machine. It's a cool name, really cool name. She was, usually first while the Rise of 15 was going on. Now I will check for closeness centrality. This means between the centrality. If we think this Twitter environment as a space where there is an information flow, Maha was keeping some strategical points which shape the density of the interaction in the network. Now I will check for the closeness centrality. Sometimes it changes, sometimes yes. 1 second. Aha. You see, there is a different pattern here, but I think it's interesting. Less popular people appeared now, and now I'm checking for eigenvector centrality. You see?
Yep.
This means she's still Queen Bee in Rise of 15.
That's a kind of almost an inside joke, because I think it's living on Facebook, right?
Yeah. Now I will check for page rank, and these values change according to the density of the interaction in the network. Maybe after a while these ranks can be changed, but for now page rank is different. It's something similar like eigenvector. You see now dog tracks became the first on the network.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I keep seeing you and Autumn there in the top 10 or top 12 list.
Probably because I share graphs
Yeah.
And it is interesting for people. Probably that's why I am there. In other words, I would be somewhere, down the way.
Well, I think people are fascinated by the graphs that you're sharing, and so then they're retweeting, and that's pumping it up, right?
For example, this is another kind of data. I have, who is following whom and how many tweets they tweeted and the number of their active tweets. Even, these numbers can give so much insight. If you are, searching, especially for learners' roles on a network. And we can get their time zone data I think it was at the 4th week. I shared something like that. Maybe you remember. And this is the small part, how we introduce ourselves to our audience. When I clicked, these boxes, I can see the full description here. And their time zone, they stated, and when they joined Twitter.
Yep.
And the URLs they used. For example, in this data set, there seems to be 12 subnetworks, but if you look at the numbers, of course they are important, but actually there are 6 basic subnetworks. These ones are also important, but these networks, these community practices shape the network. And I can see who is in which group, and this is an overall metrics part. This is number of the people, number of the tweets. I think these are retweets and the total number. If you retweet yourself, if you refer in a way yourself, this means self loops. As you see, collected components seems to be 6 here. This is an interesting number. I think the ideal number should be 6. There is an Milgram experiment, something like the experiment I did. Somehow the guy posts a letter, and at the end of the experiment, they see that to be reachable in a network, you need to have 6 steps. I think this should be about that.
It's interesting. The connected components come out to 6, and you were saying there were really 6 subgroups. Is that just confirming that for you?
Yes. There are some groups, but the number of the people are fewer when I compare the other groups. And as you see, these ones are they are not connected to the whole group. They are in the community, but there is a communication between them, not with the whole community.
So does that make them isolates?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is interesting. Actually, NodeXL and this is an excellent software. It provides you so much data. This goes on for each group, but I will just show you the first one. The top web addresses referred in the tweets, and top domains, and for example, you see that this was how I tracked other learning communities that are related to the Rise of 15. you can see the other hashtags most tweeted and their numbers. For example, rise of 15, naturally the top one, but rise of 14, interestingly, always referring in the tweets, CC courses or, for example, SNA, database. You can see their numbers. Top words in tweet in entire graph. Naturally, some of these words are the user's name, but sometimes, especially in more crowded networks, there could be different and interesting results. Top replied, top mentioned. This is, you see, these are the top tweeters in the entire graph. Maybe in this community they don't tweet much, but in general, although this community they have massive numbers of tweets. Mm-hmm. And I see if there is any familiar name. For example, Bon Stewart, mm-hmm. Laura, I think I remember their name. And these are the names most used in the whole network. If I pass these names, for example, untext, community, blog, these statistics are helpful if you are making an qualitative research, and if you need some themes, before you start, I think they can be helpful. And these are word pairs and top items. This is, I usually released these data. Top 10 vertices nodes, top 10 Twitter users ranked by between centrality.
I just had an interesting thought. Can you get us the top 6? Is it 6 or 7? Can you get us the top? I think it's 6. Can you get us the top 6 words that are not names? Because we could write a Sestina poem. We were all writing the Sestina. I think that would be fun to write a Sestina poem on the top 6 words that were tweeted in Rise of 15. I think that'd be a fun.
You mean this part, yes?
Yeah, but I don't know about names. I don't think we should do names. I think it should just be like the ones that you were picking out before, like post and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the first one looks like learning.
What?
The first one, it's number 10.
Yes, learning. NodeXL cannot detect, which one of the words is important or regular.
But we can all eyeball it, right? We can look at it.
Of course. For example, I missed learning is, it's important, to use in whole community that word and if I, just miss rise or retweet or, other usernames, this means, the essence of the people discussing is the learning.
Right.
I mean, you can see what is the original ideas are circulating around.
That means that word was used more frequently?
Yes.
Okay.
And 35 times.
35 times.
Yeah.
What's the next one down? Under Francis Bell?
This is Via.
Via.
I don't think that one counts.
You don't think so?
No.
Oh, come on.
Untext is, I think this was the last week's topic for our conversations.
Yeah. And number 26, community.
Yes, community and maybe content.
Networks. Yeah.
Yep. Writing. Statement. research.
Oh, people.
Is there a way to filter the people out? Could you filter by like the @ symbol?
Of course. But can you see pop-up menu?
I can.
You can?
Yes.
It's interesting. You can, you can filter the names, and you can have some, filtered data if you want.
Well, it's just amazing all the data that you can analyze inside NodeXL.
And
I understand why it's slightly overwhelming. And when we talked about you doing this, Aras, you were very kind to take it down to the basics and really start with the vocabulary and what things mean before we dug into the software. Thank you for that. I think it helped really when we started looking at the pictures and you were highlighting lines on the page and the red lines were going across the graph. It made it make more sense. And I appreciate you taking that extra time to explain things at the beginning.
I hope this became helpful.
I think it was very helpful. Autumn, did you enjoy it even though you've seen this before?
Well, actually, I think this is much more in-depth than what I saw before. And like I said, every time I see Aras present, it's just like I learn a little bit more. So yeah, I think it was really helpful for me. And thank you both for letting me be a part of it. I'm really sorry that I was kind of jumping in and out. It was a little bit busier. I knew that I was going to be doing 2 things at once, but I didn't know that it was going to be this busy. So thanks for that. And I'm sorry that I was so blinky.
No worries. We're glad you were able to join us. And Aras, thank you so much. I know it's getting late there in Turkey. It's got to be, what, 7:15 at night on a Saturday. Go enjoy your family, and we'll catch up again later. Thanks, everybody who might have watched or may watch at some point in the future. It was really all about Autumn and I getting to go deeper and learn more. If it's helpful to others, that's always wonderful. But we really appreciate you, Aras, taking some time to answer a few of our questions along the way.
Okay, hope to see you again.
Absolutely.
Thank you for everything. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye.